The peace between realities erupted into all-out war.
What's going on, everyone? It's Simp. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about something that I think everyone wants to know more about, and that is, what is the next Avengers movie going to be about? Who will be the villain? What will the plot be? And who will be on the next roster? So let's discuss how the Loki finale and Kang specifically has set up the inevitable Secret Wars or Multiversal War storyline, along with how Multiverse of Madness could act as a resetting of the MCU universe. So if you like Marvel, the MCU, comics, and everything in between, subscribe to the channel. But other than that, let's get into the video. Let's go. I've mentioned it before on the channel, but Secret Wars is a massive event in the comics, and after what happened in Avengers Endgame, the MCU is of course looking to top that movie. And so where do you go from here? Secret Wars, or at least a modified version of it? A lot of people think it's way too early for this movie, and I partially agree with you, but with the way the MCU is moving and using the multiverse, using a variation of this event might prove out to work better than we think. We know the movie won't be out for another few years at minimum, and Kevin Feige even said that it takes time to build up to these types of events. So if I had to guess, we won't see an Avengers movie again until about 2025 or 2026. And even back in 2019, Feige mentioned that it would take even 5 years for the X-Men to show up, which would put that at about 2024, so we're still a couple years out from that as well. However, I do believe that he's actually talking about the MCU's version of the X-Men, because as we now know from the Multiverse of Madness trailer, we will be seeing Professor X and possibly other X-Men characters in the movie. As for the MCU X-Men, we have had some small inclination that it's already in development, because of course these movies started out way further in advance than people think. So reporters like Charles Murphy and others have discussed that the movie is currently being labeled as The Mutants, and it's aiming for around a 2025 release. What's interesting about this though is if it will come after or before Secret Wars. Now in the comics there are two Secret Wars events, one from the 80s and one from 2015. In the 1984 event, a being called the Beyonder essentially teleports a ton of the characters to Battle World where everyone has to fight. In simpler terms, it's almost like Marvel's version of Battle Royale. Now in the 2015 version, which is what I believe the MCU will pull more story references from, involved the 616 universe colliding with the Ultimate Universe. Characters from both universes clashed in a massive battle, damaging both in the progress, but fragments of each were restored and pieced together, forming essentially a new battle world and universe. This was linked with the Avengers comic run called Time Runs Out, where the incursions began to happen. Incursions called the universes throughout the multiverse to collide, which each universe's respective Earth as the point of impact. So how would this story exactly work out in the MCU? Let's find out. So in the Secret Wars storyline, the Beyonder and Doctor Doom are huge players. However, both of them have not been introduced yet in the MCU. There are a lot of rumors and a lot of things pointing to Doctor Doom being introduced very soon, especially with Lucia von Bardas appearing in Black Panther 2, a character with ties to Victor himself. Now I did do a video on this though, if you want to go check it out, the link is in the description below. But anyway, in the MCU, I believe the lasting effects from Kang and the Multiversal War, along with the fallout of the events from No Way Home, will force the events within Multiverse of Madness to start these incursions. And instead of us using Doom as the major villain right away, I actually think Kang will serve as the replacement in this specific story. A lot of the elements of transporting people to Battleworld could be tied to Kang. As we know from Loki and What He Who Remains and Miss Minutes told us, the Multiversal War almost ended everything until Kang was able to prune timelines down to one trapped and enclosed sacred timeline, the one that we have been following. And so if Kang was able to accomplish this, then it would mean his pruning effects that we saw in Loki could be the replacement for the Beyonder's teleportation to Battleworld, almost exactly like how characters were pruned and were sent to the Void. Now obviously we wouldn't have TVA members running around trying to prune people with a stick, but it's more likely the evil version of Kang could have developed this technology, or at least a different version of it, since he isn't at He Who Remains level yet. It would obviously be drastically different, but this is the MCU and not the comics. Marvel Studios loves to take fragments of different stories to combine them into new experiences, and I could see a scenario where Kang is used as the main antagonist in this story. Now back when Loki was about to release, the writer Michael Waldron spoke about the potentiality of a Secret Wars reference in the show. And then once we got it, he said, "We'll see how this plays out. You probably know just as well as I do, not everything is just in there. If the purpose of that whole thing was just to indoctrinate the audience and everything, so yeah, we'll just see how this plays out moving forward." Waldron also spoke about how while writing Loki and Doctor Strange 2, both teams not only collabed with each other, but also Spider-Man No Way Home to make sure that all of the multiverse aspects made sense. Meaning that these three movies in particular will be connected in this multiverse style trilogy, along with WandaVision of course playing a part in the Scarlet Witch's origin. And from potential leaks and rumors, we know that Loki might be cameoing in Multiverse of Madness as well, so there's a ton of overlap here within these projects. Where it gets even more interesting though is that in Multiverse of Madness, we know that Wanda will be creating everlasting and damaging effects on the multiverse. In fact, I believe this scene here, which we know is the same scene as this one, unless they fooled us with CGI, but if it is the same, the trees that we see here could be acting as literal branches of the multiverse, and Wanda is physically clipping the ones without her children, very similar to what Kang did with his variant selves. He clipped all the branches where a potential Nathaniel Richards could become Kang. And we also know that we will be seeing the Multiverse Illuminati and Professor X, check out my most recent video, but we of course see them arresting Doctor Strange at one point with Mordo telling him, "Your desecration for reality will not go unpunished." So could this be the turning point in the MCU and the multiverse saga in general, pitting alternate variant universes and characters against the MCU's sacred timeline of characters, creating the MCU's version of the Secret Wars battle? So instead of just the Ultimate Universe versus the regular 616 universe, it would be the main MCU timeline versus a multiverse team of variants. And because we know Kang is at the top of this multiversal war, he could be the one pulling the strings for this showdown to occur in the same ways the Beyonder and Doctor Doom did in their respective stories. With the fallout from the No Way Home spell and Doctor Strange possibly also toying with chaos magic in the trailer, things are going astray and the multiversal power balance at some point will come to a mind-bending and alternate event for all of life. The question is, will this reset the MCU universe, or will it combine elements from across the universe, more specifically characters like the X-Men? And will they show up before this event, during, or after? Because as you know right now, there are no mutants that we know of, or essentially X-Men, in the MCU main timeline. So this could change everything, and in a way we have already seen incursions within No Way Home, but minor versions of it. Universes essentially collapsing and characters overlapping or crossing over into other dimensions, with the final visuals we received at the end proving the incursions could happen at any moment. But this event in No Way Home was only characters, so just wait until more things collide. If the MCU were to partially reset, it's not a reset as in let's start back at the 2008 Iron Man 1 days, it's just regrouping the timeline back to normal, like before He Who Remains Death, just without him in control. So let me know your thoughts about this, and if you're excited for Avengers 5, comment all your Secret Wars, Multiverse of Madness, and Kang theories below. Follow me on Twitter at AnotherMarvelG for all daily news and updates. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel for all MCU movies, Disney Plus show coverage, and more. And other than that, I just want to say thank you. I'm Another Marvel Guy, and I'll catch y'all on a blip.